Hello, my beautiful wrestling friends and family. I am going to try to get this done in a short because I will have a longer video coming with more full review of AEW Dynasty. But I did make a comment on one of my recent videos. Someone asked me for my match predictions, and so I wanted to compare my predictions to the actual results of Dynasty. So this will have some spoilers in it. If you did not watch Dynasty yet, don't watch this video, and then if you do watch it, please don't get mad at me in the comments for watching it before you watched the matches. So, when I made my predictions, I said two things. A, I'm very bad at making predictions, and B, that I was making these predictions based on storytelling cues. So, based on how I think of the kind of storytelling AEW typically does, what I thought was going to happen, not necessarily who I wanted to win on a personal level or I thought should win in terms of good storytelling. So, that being said, let's jump right in. Chris Jericho versus Ricochet. Now, I said I thought Ricochet would win. Ricochet did win. This aligns perfectly with the exact kind of storytelling I was expecting. It's super obvious to come into a Canada show where Chris Jericho is returning and have him win. That's not the story that AEW is going to tell, especially when, I think part of the reason Chris Jericho pulled back on AEW for a bit was because that go-home heat he was getting. And AEW, Tony Khan's very savvy to what people are talking about online, almost to a point where it's too much. He lets us have too much emphasis or input on what he decides to do. So yes, absolutely saw this coming. I thought Ricochet was going to win, and he did. Now, Darby Allin versus Andrade El Idolo. I had put down that Andrade El Idolo would win this match, but Darby Allin actually ended up winning. Okay, I think this could be a controversial statement. I would have preferred for Andrade El Idolo to win the match, not because I'm hot and sweaty for him like most of you all are, you little sicko perverts. I see you. I see little comments you make on the internet. But because I thought we've seen kind of a very familiar story arc with Darby Allin a couple of times now about I need this, I'm going to climb every mountain, I need to prove that I'm the best, and you have. We've seen it. Whereas Andrade's coming in, he is coming in looking really strong. Obviously, the crowd is eating him up. They like what he's doing. They want to see him kind of get pushed further and in a more intentional way, and for the caliber of his work to match up to his reputation in the promotion. And so I would have done it differently. Then we had Young Bucks versus Okada and Takeshita. I said that Young Bucks would win. Young Bucks did win. I think this is what absolutely needed to happen. It makes perfect sense to me because what we need to see is that Okada and Takeshita head-to-head finally happen. It happened a little bit at the end of the year pay-per-view when they matched up there, but I've talked about in other videos, so I thought that was kind of a super disappointing matchup. People are ready and they want to see this come to a head in a legitimate, like, really just aggressive way. And I would much rather see that break apart happening off of a loss or a betrayal like we saw than off of the backs of a win. So this made sense to me. Now we had the AEW World Trios Championship match. So this was Orange Cassidy, Roderick Strong, Kyle O'Reilly against the Dogs, Clark Connors, David Finlay, Gabe Kidd. And with the conglomeration won this one, I actually put down that the Dogs would win. I originally had put down that Orange Cassidy and Co. would win because I wasn't sure who that surprise guest was going to be, and also because I don't like the Dogs. And so I realized that was just me booking my wish thinking, and I thought for sure that they probably would continue on this run of making the Dogs the bad guys. Now, that being said, we do know that in the middle of that match, Gabe Kidd, I thought might have broke his wrist, but now they're saying he might have dislocated his shoulder. And when they won that match, Orange Cassidy seemed exceptionally surprised. And I don't mean kayfabe surprised. I mean in his real life, as his real person, seemed surprised that they had just won. And so what I am wondering is if the Dogs were initially slated to win this match, but because of what happened during the match, maybe they had to make an immediate decision and cut that change. And it wasn't communicated, obviously, to everyone in the match. So curious what will build and happen out of that in that aftermath. Then we have, let's see, AEW World Tag Team Championship match. I said Cage and Cope. The actual winners of the match were FTR. Now, if you watch the channel, you know I am a lifelong FTR hater. If FTR has no haters, it's because I have transcended into my final form, and this corpse no longer drags the face of the earth. I don't like FTR. I never had. I know that's controversial. People are always shocked when I say it. I just don't like them. You know who I like instead of FTR? The Outrunners. That's right. I love the Outrunners. I think they have a stronger vintage gimmick, and I think they're more enjoyable. I just love everything they do. I just don't like FTR. Please don't hate me, okay? I thought Cage and Cope were going to win here because I thought that they might do some short-term transitional storytelling around who held on to those tag team belts, because there are so many tag teams in the promotion. And I thought that would be a nice opportunity to give this kind of reconnection of Cage and Cope a little sizzle, and then allow them to kind of transfer it into the hands of a newer team, right? That's not FTR or them. But, you know, we'll see where they take it. I know a lot of y'all love FTR, so you probably enjoyed the outcome of this. I know a lot of you don't want to see Cage and Cope. I do. I'm a mark. I'm a mark for them. I'm 40 years old. I will always be a mark for both of them, and I'm okay with that. It makes me happy. You should be happy too. I hope you feel good about the things you like, the way I feel good about the things I like. So then we have the AEW Continental Championship match. This was Will Ospreay against Jon Moxley. I said Ospreay would win this match, and Jon Moxley defeated him. So, you know, that is what it is. I love Jon Moxley. I'm a massive Jon Moxley fan, so you're not going to hear me complain about that. I've talked on the channel about how I think Jon Moxley is one of the most talented character actors in wrestling, period. But I thought they were going to do something different here, and they just didn't go that direction. So we're going to see how the outcome of this shakes up. Then we have the Women's World Championship match. This was Tekla versus Jamie Hayter. I had said that I thought Tekla would win. Tekla did win. We don't need to go into much detail there. I have an entire video coming about Tekla, where I'll talk about her much more length there. But yeah, that makes sense, and that's what I thought they would do. And then we have that World Championship match between Kenny Omega and MJF. I put down that I thought Kenny Omega would win this. They were going, I thought, a storytelling direction that they apparently are not going to go. Here was my worry. My worry was you have a domino effect, right? And when you see in an earlier match, okay, you're seeing if so-and-so, like if Darby Allin wins versus Andrade, that gives away the ending of who's going to win in MJF versus Kenny Omega, because people are very perceptive about that long-term booking. And they're like, well, does it make more sense to see in that long-term booking, right? Darby Allin versus MJF, Darby Allin versus Omega, Andrade versus Omega, Andrade versus MJF. And so my issue sometimes with that storytelling in these kind of pay-per-views where they're like every match is very, very critical to the outcome of the storytelling, you can see early on in the show like where things might go. And so that's kind of a complaint, I would say, I have right there. But no, MJF defeated Kenny Omega, and so now we will see what happens next with Kenny Omega. I know a lot of people saying that this was what Kenny Omega wanted. He wanted to put MJF over. I know I had concerns that in an Omega defeat, this was going to be used to a pivot to a storyline about Kenny Omega announcing his retirement. So I'm really hoping that that is not the direction the storytelling is headed. But obviously, everyone should wrestle at the best of their abilities at the healthiest that they can, because that's what matters the most. So there you are. There we have it. I didn't give public predictions about the pre-show. It did pretty much land almost exactly as I thought it would. But yes, I can make a fuller video about this if you like. If not, we can cap it here. This is already 10 minutes probably. I'm JJ, I love wrestling, and I love AEW, and if you don't, I don't want to hear your mean comments about it, okay? We ain't doing that around here. And I'll see you in the next one.